If I had a nickel for every Christmas movie that came out this year and heavily featured a snowman with abs, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
An abominable snowman? No, it's the abdominal snowman.
What am I talking about? Red One and Hot Frosty. Would I recommend them? Absolutely. And are they good? Absolutely not. It's more terrible movies, yeah. In this day and age, there are a lot of Christmas movies out there, and there's also a lot of bad movies out there, and there's a lot of bad Christmas movies out there. So it can be kind of hard to make something in that genre that is new or different and interesting. But this year, gosh dang it, if the movie makers were gonna try. Functionally, the logline for both of these films boil down to Christmas, but make it action, or Christmas, but make it sexy, I guess.
You want me to get behind you and push? Huh?
They're so corny. They're so cheesy. If you're going in expecting a plotline that makes sense or dialogue that is super renowned, you're not gonna get it. You're not. But that doesn't mean you won't have a good time. For a bad movie, you can either be bad in the way that your budget is really low, or your concept is just not interesting, or the acting is bad, or the writing is terrible. But for them to be a good bad movie, it has to also be so fun to watch. Now, the cynic in me could say that Red One is just a cash grab with a bloated budget and a plot that doesn't make sense. And for Hot Frosty, the cynic in me could describe it as a rehashing of the Born Sexy Yesterday trope with a plotline that also does not make sense. But honestly, I loved both of these movies. They were so fun. They were so bad, but they were so fun. Altogether, just there's so many ridiculous moments in both of these films, and I just have to talk about them. So, Red One is an action movie that follows Cal, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is Santa's bodyguard on a Christmas Eve when Santa gets kidnapped. Hot Frosty is about a lonely woman in a sleepy town looking for love, who might find it when a hot snowman comes magically to life. The woman, Kathy, is played by Gretchen Wieners. And they're fun, and they're similar in a lot of ways, in that, like, all of the actors are playing basically their typecast role that you really want them to see. Like, The Rock is The Rock, and the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine is the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and the lady from American Housewife plays the lady from American Housewife, and one of the Chris's is one of the Chris's. You know, they're all playing who you want them to be. And they also take a swing at making something new that is not based off of, like, legacy IP, which is fun. So good for them. I saw Red One described as if an Avengers movie did Christmas, which I would agree with. Red One feels like a film that nobody said no to anything, and so they threw in everything at the kitchen sink. Turns out the guy who wrote Red One is the same guy who wrote the Fast and the Furious movies, so if you go in with that expectation, so fun. There's going to be a lot of fun, flashy sequences, but the plot might be a little bit... I personally loved the Fast and the Festivus. So J.K. Simmons plays Santa, but he's like a hot, buff Santa. The North Pole as more like a Star Wars base, complete with CGI characters running around and jargon that is multisyllabic but also nonsense. And we also meet The Rock, who is apparently Santa's bodyguard, on the day before he decides he's going to retire. But then, lo and behold, on Christmas Eve, Santa gets kidnapped. Oh no! What are we gonna do? Well, clearly, we have to find the one guy who can find whoever can't be found. But, he's got kind of a hairy personal life. So Cal teams up with Jack, and they have to try to go and hunt down Santa. And there's a lot of really fun lore that they throw in that's loosely based off of real-life Christmas mythology from around the world. Like, they have Krampus, and they have the Christmas Witch, and they have a lot of their own little fun justifications as well. And they try to explain every single little bit of magic, right? Versus, and that is completely contracting. And that's a complete contrast with Hot Frosty, which doesn't try to explain anything. If Red One had multiple characters asking the same question over and over again and giving very wordy answers, Hot Frosty took the other route and answered nothing. How is he alive? We don't know. Fuck you for asking. Here's a dance number with a whole bunch of children. It's so good. Literally, they're like, isn't he a snowman? And every character, literally by the end of the entire town, is just sort of like, yeah, okay. They just accept it. They're the coolest people ever about this nonsense. And they just say, like, they just yada yada it, like, well, I mean, a man that special must be magic. What? What? So Hot Frosty, it starts out with their typical, like, Hallmark movie, sleepy little town. It's literally called Hope Springs, and there's decorations, and there's a woman who's kind of down on her luck, but the people like her. Everybody knows each other in this town. Our main character, Holly? Might as well be. What is her name? Kathy. So our main character, Kathy, she's illustrated to be a good person who takes care of the people in her life. Kathy is lonely, but not because she's unlovable. Oh no, she had a husband, but he died of cancer. The fucking goofiest font. Oh my god. And then she gets given a magical scarf by someone. It's not clear if that's her mom or her neighbor. But the one thing that they do, like, hammer home is that today is the day of the annual ice sculpting contest. One of the ice sculptures is just a completely shredded buff dude. She gives him the scarf. Turns out the scarf's magic, and what do you know? Frosty comes to life. And he is hot. Every single woman in town, when they see him, is just frothing at the mouth for him. And it's so interesting because I feel like if the roles were reversed, this would be such a gross movie. But since it's objectification of a dude, we're okay with it, I guess. Yeah, because of historical context, inversion of power, whatever. It's fun. So all of these women are feral over this man. This town has a scourge of female loneliness, apparently. You would think that they had never seen the male form before, the way that they just gog at him.
You're telling me there's not a single gay dude who's reacting as aggressively as all these women are? You know what, in a tiny little town, in a tiny little Christmas town, maybe that is the case. Maybe they're keeping that to themselves.
It's also just so clear that everybody who was making this movie was having so much fun with it, and it's hard not to have fun with them. It was like, oh, this can be bad as long as the audience is in on the joke.
What do you mean, who I am? I know who I am.
That is so funny. That looks just like a girl I went to high school with.
It's just so fun to watch these movies sort of lily pad from cliche to cliche to cliche. We found our guy. Throw some kind of equipment on the interrogation table. Man, this lady is lonely, but will she find love again? We hope so. Turns out that our two leading men in this action movie aren't gonna get along. Why? They have a different worldview. Literally, Jack is apparently on the naughty list, and Gal establishes at the beginning of the movie that he is heartbroken that the world is more naughty than nice this year. Look, when you say it out loud, I get it. I do hear it. I do hear it, okay? I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it's fun. There's also this fantastic line when they're like, what is Santa's mission? And Dwayne The Rock Johnson goes, to spread cheer, asshole. Which is so good. It's so good. And I have a pet theory that that line is the reason that it got a PG-13 rating, because you can't write around that. But other than that, there's nothing particularly uncouth about it that wouldn't make it suitable for younger audiences. But then they gave it a PG-13 rating. And that's a bummer, especially because some of the mechanics in this movie are so fun for kids. Like, he can take toys and, like, transform them into, like, what he actually needs. That would be so fun for kids. They don't even kill people. They literally just stun him and watch him go limp. Which is it's so corny. It's so good and so corny.
I'm gonna need you to say, let's save Christmas.
All right, got it. Okay. Let's save Christmas.
That was terrible.
And that's a bummer, because for a Christmas movie, if you're not going to go the romance route, you kind of have to go the kids route. Because if you don't go the kids route, you're not going to get any viewership. I mean, this movie did kind of tank at the box office. I think they made around $30 million, which is less than how much they paid The Rock to be in it. It's not great. But then again, apparently Amazon is more interested in making money off of it when it goes to streaming than in theaters, which does track. Both of these movies employ the magic of Christmas and the power of love in order to solve all of their problems. But one gets so overly technical and granular with it, and the other one explains nothing. With Red One, characters will ask 14 times about a certain thing, and they'll go over it.
The brother.
Whose brother?
Nix.
Santa's got a brother?
Adopted, yes.
She's working with the brother.
It's clear that the writers did their research and they were trying to be like, oh, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing.
Well, who leaves their gold just lying out in an open treasure chest?
He tried to steal a priceless piece of gold from the Dark Lord of Winter. It's a tribute box to Krampus.
And really rushing to make it make sense in between their big action sequences.
The Glaskafig.
What do you know about the Glaskafig?
Mythical magic snow globe used to imprison the naughty.
Versus Hot Frosty is like, it's a versus Hot Frosty is like, he's got a scarf. He's alive. He's a dude now. How did he learn how to do things? TV. Nothing. No other explanation.
What do you mean, different? He's a snowman that magically came to life.
Explains why he's so comfortable without a shirt on.
It's so good. And even in the universe, people are like, this is a snowman. That's crazy, right? But everyone else is like, yeah. Okay.
You just buy that he's a snowman? It's Christmas.
A man that sweet's just gotta be magic, don't you think?
Why? Because he's a good guy. Because of his pretty privilege. The town at the end of the movie gathers together to save him and bail him out of jail because he's hot. Not because he's hot, he's also kind, but the kindness makes him hot, so technically it's because he's hot.
Have you ever been hot enough to bring the town together?
Pretty privilege, man. Also, for the ending action sequence for Red One, so Santa's gotten kidnapped, spoiler alert, and now Gria, the Christmas witch, is now stealing his power in order to facilitate her evil Christmas plan, which is to get rid of everybody on the naughty list. But that means that for the last action sequence, it's so hard to take anything seriously because J.K. Simmons is just sitting there asleep in the chair, just getting jostled around, while Chris Evans and Dwayne Johnson are punching the air or the reindeer or whatever. Just Grandpa asleep in the chair while there's all of these action moves. Also, in Hot Frosty, it's just so much fun to watch him be an absolute himbo everywhere.
Thank you. I love you.
You do not.
I do. I love you.
No, you don't.
But him being like, what's eggnog, at the same tone of voice that he's like, what's cancer, is too much. It's too much.
What's cancer?
And since it's literally the crux of the premise, he's good with kids. It's so interesting, the things that women find hot. He does things like fixes stuff around the house without asking, and is a good listener, and is really good with children. We see not only him getting nervous to ask her to the school dance, parentheses, they are both adults, and this pseudo proposal, but also her saving his life with a kiss. They decided every single romance trope they wanted it. So anyway, overall a couple of really fun movies, and I would absolutely recommend them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a bad movie. I will watch a bad movie. I will get upset about a bad movie. I'm not gonna get upset about these bad movies. Anyway, thank you everyone. A little bit shorter of a video this week. Hope you like and subscribe. Mwah. Merry Christmas.